I also want to bring my dad, Clarence Robertson, into the picture to again talk about not despising small beginnings of where did I come from. People know me now, don't know where I actually came from. So, Dad, I'm asking you, what do you remember about me as a little girl in sewing?
Well, I remember your mother teaching you,
Hmm.
and I remember one day I decided that I wanted to buy you a machine.
Okay.
And so I went and found a little machine for you
Hmm.
and brought it in here, and you were just so happy because your mother had been teaching you how to sew. And once you got that machine, it just really took off from that
Okay.
point on. And it was just such a blessing because I've always wanted to make sure that all of you, my kids, were pleased.
Hmm.
And I tried my best, to just be a good father
You are.
and encourage y'all all the time.
So, what I kind of remember, as I got older, I would say 16, 17, you started asking me, did I need certain equipment? And I thought, I don't even know about the equipment, but turns out you were like doing research. So, every birthday, you would come up with, do you remember that? You would go find a new piece of equipment for me?
Yeah, I was always you were so interested in sewing and creating things that I was going to try my best to just encourage you.
Hmm.
And at that particular age, I went out to the cleaners, and they always had a machine, and the lady was working on it, but she said it wouldn't work. I said, "Won't work?" I said, "What's wrong with it?" She said, "I don't know. It just won't work."
Okay.
I said, "Well, do you want to sell it?" She said, "Yeah, you can sell it." I said, "How much you want for it?" $150. I said, "Okay, I'll take it." And I took it and brought it here and asked you, "This is a commercial machine,
Right.
and you can use it if you really want to. You can
Hmm.
really be a creator." And I think at that time, I don't know if it was at that particular time, but I remember you working for Reverend
Reverend Scales.
Scales.
Yeah.
Yes, as a matter of fact, he told me to tell you to call him.
Oh, okay.
I
Okay.
just saw him the other day, and he was just using you in such a great way because he had a sewing business,
Right. Right.
and even he started in the back of his car doing things. I remember that too. But once you got with him, you learned quite a bit, and
Mm.
that just expanded your ministry. But I really wanted you to be in school.
Yes, you did. He gave me that option. He was like, when I graduated, I had been to Skyline, been in their design cluster, and he was like, you either go to school or you go to work. Which one you going to do? And so I ended up going to El Centro College to do fashion design.
And she was doing such a great job down there until when she decided to go to TWU. I thought that was really a great idea. Did I buy you a car at that time?
It,
Or was it before then?
I didn't have a car then, but that was that time you said, have you ever thought about a serger? And I'm thinking, I don't even know what a serger is. But this is what he would do. He would go investigate equipment for sewing or, dressmaking, and then he would ask me about it. And then when my birthday would come in October, whatever that was would show up. And so he ended up buying me a sewing machine, a serger. He went and bought me a commercial steamer. I mean, he was just thinking of stuff that I never had heard of, and
And
he would just buy it, and I'd be like,
she
okay.
was just so interested in sewing. And one of the things that I learned early, train up a child in the way that he should go, not the way you want him to go, but in the
Mm-hmm.
way he should go. And whatever that gifted talent is, you just try to help that person develop that talent. And God is going to use that gift. And so all you need to do is train them up. And early we learned something, through our marriage, that the kids really was not our kids. They were just in our hands. And my wife and I sat down and prayed and put them in God's hand. And it has been just a blessing to have all our kids just in the hands of God, even up to this moment.
Now I'm going to tell you, this is a reason why these small beginnings, when they start, and you're not sure what you're supposed to do, but you can kind of start feeling your creativity. One of the reasons it helps to have some parents positive on your side and encouraging you is because the world is not going to do that. There were many places that I went to, situations that I was in, where people actually said things that were discouraging, like, when are you going to get a real job? Sewing is not a real job. And it got to a point where I didn't even want to talk about what I did. But because I had my parents behind me, my family behind me, I kept going. Without them, I probably would have stopped a long time ago, and I would have missed out on all the things that happened after then. Now, my dad, I don't remember how old you were when this first happened, but he ended up going on a missionary trip.
1996.
Okay. I had no thoughts of going anywhere like what he was doing. So I never went with him on any of his trips, and he went on many, many, many trips. Never went with him. When he had to stop going, then it was like the Lord called me to go. And it was like, are you for real? You would think that I would have been influenced by him going. But I never actually went on a trip with him. My mom did, but I never even went on a trip. And people who know the trips or supported me in going to trips, to Africa and Papua New Guinea and Haiti and South Africa, they would probably think that I had been with him, and that's why, I ended up going. But he was called for one reason, and I was called for a totally different reason. And part of that is where I ended up expanding what I was doing with sewing. Again, starting in the bedroom to the kitchen, had no idea that, a little girl from Oak Cliff, Texas would end up on the other side of the world. So that's why you really shouldn't be bothered by where you start, because where you finish is a totally different area.
And that is so correct. Because I'm from the bottoms of Oak Cliff, and that's where I grew up, and back in the day, and that was pretty tough. But there's a philosophy out of the bottom of Oak Cliff that has been passed on to all of our children, to our church family, and everything. And this came from a old barber that we used to shine shoes at his barber shop. And one of the things he always told us, be what you is and not what you ain't. Because if you ain't what you is what you ain't. And so I think that's a great philosophy from Oak Cliff. And for years I've tried to pass that on to others. Because if you're going to be anything, just be yourself. I can't believe how the Lord has used me as a husband, as a father, as a pastor, as a missionary. I just can't believe it, because I've never been trying to make a name for myself. I've only tried to make a difference in the life of other people, and especially my children. And I have the loveliest wife that you can have anywhere. And if you've been married 61 years,
Right.
then, and you still on your honeymoon, that's really something. And I would say to any young people, you really need to learn to let Christ control your life by the power of his Holy Spirit. And that's what, over the years, that has happened in both of our lives. And one thing I try to make sure that couples know is that the Jesus in you is not going to fight the Jesus in me.
Okay.
And that's what will keep a marriage together. And when you take those vows, that's what is trying to get you to try to understand. And I hear young people try to say so many things about marriage and this and that. But I can tell you, love is what keeps a marriage together. And if you love your wife, and if your wife respects you, and if you lead like a man ought to lead, then that marriage is going to be successful.